A conventional domestic cat protected all the pups from the neighboring dog. When the pet owners discovered the real cause, they were shocked. Lucy was no ordinary feline. Her caramel fur and shimmering emerald eyes were hard to ignore. However, it wasn't only her physical attributes that set her apart. Lucy embodied a motherly instinct that exceeded standard feline behavior. The Johnson household, comprising Sarah, Tom, and their child Emily, offered Lucy a home when she was but a kitten. They discovered her shivering with cold and fright, nestling in a cardboard box near a grocery store. Emily, a little girl of merely 8 years of age then, was immediately smitten with the small kitten and pleaded with her parents to adopt her. The initial weeks in her new residence were tough for Lucy. She sought refuge under the bed, only venturing out after dark for sustenance. Emily demonstrated tremendous patience, spending countless hours on the floor adjacent to the bed, gently coaxing the kitten. Ultimately, Lucy began to trust her newfound family. As Lucy aged, her personality continued to blossom, proving to be an impressively intelligent, inquisitive cat. Over time, Lucy exhibited remarkable compassion towards other creatures. When Emily once arrived home with a wounded bird, Lucy instantly assumed the role of its caregiver. She spent innumerable hours by the box that housed the bird, vigilantly guarding it and even attempting to nourish it. Owing to Lucy's nurturing, the bird recuperated and managed to regain flight. On a particular occasion during a fierce storm, a nest of baby squirrels fell into the Johnsons' yard. Undeterred by the heavy downpour, Lucy darted into the deluge and painstakingly transported each squirrel to the safety of the porch. She kept them cozy throughout the stormy night until the cessation of the rain signaled the return of their mother. Lucy established herself as a true gem of the locality. Residents frequently dropped by the Johnsons' home to appreciate the exceptional cat. One day, Sarah observed Lucy exhibiting peculiar behavior. The cat frequently perched by the window, staring forlornly into the horizon. Her appetite dwindled, and she seemed sullen. Concerned, the Johnsons decided to consult a vet. The vet unlocked the mystery. Lucy was with kittens. This revelation invoked a tidal wave of emotions in the family. The forthcoming week was consumed with preparations for the soon-to-be-born kittens. Then the birthing day arrived. Nestled in a corner of the shed, Lucy released the humans of their assistance. The family keenly awaited word, catching intermittent mellow purrs from the shed. After a few hours, Lucy shambled out, appearing fatigued yet graceful. To the Johnsons' astonishment, she had no kittens trailing her. Tom gingerly peeked into the snug Lucy had fashioned for herself, and his spirits plummeted at the sight. 3 tiny kittens lay lifeless. They were stillborn. The veterinarian, who was summoned at once, explained that this occurrence is not unheard of, particularly in juvenile cats. Lucy was inconsolable. She would not abandon her nest, perpetually licking and attempting to warm her kittens. The Johnsons were unsure of how to alleviate their cherished pet's sorrow. A week elapsed, and Lucy finally deserted her hideaway, but she no longer had the vigor the Johnsons remembered. She grew silent and introverted. Emily even began vocalizing to Lucy in hopes that her voice might pacify the troubled feline. Then, on a sweltering summer day, everything altered. While playing in the yard, Emily caught an odd sound from beyond the fence. Moving closer, she spotted Lucy carrying a puppy in her mouth, a minuscule, whimpering black puppy. Emily was taken aback. Calling her folks, all the Johnsons soon looked on in shock as Lucy delicately settled the puppy on the turf, nuzzling it as if it were her kitten. The Johnsons were at a loss as to the origins of the puppy and the best course of action. Tom suggested bringing it home, contacting the authorities, or taking it to an animal care center, but Sarah was reluctant. Observing the affectionate way Lucy was caring for the puppy, she was unwilling to separate the two. The Johnsons distributed flyers around the area about the newly discovered pup, yet there was no response. Meanwhile, Lucy's exceptional care for the young one was commendable. She was constantly by his side, licking him with tenderness and warming him with her body. Emily was taken aback to observe that Lucy had begun nursing the puppy. Despite their interspecies variance, Lucy's milk surprisingly suited the puppy. The family vet, consulted by the Johnsons, was astounded by this uncommon occurrence and remarked that such instances, although very infrequent, were indeed plausible. Lucy fed the little one every 2 hours, even waking up in the wee hours of the night, demonstrating genuine maternal devotion. On the third morning following their first pup surprise, Lucy vanished once again. However, upon her return, she held yet another pup in her mouth. This newcomer was marginally larger compared to the first, flaunting the same dark fur. Now the Johnsons were entirely baffled. From where was Lucy acquiring these dogs, and why was she bringing them home? Tom started to speculate that a nearby dog had recently given birth and for some inexplicable reason didn't want to tend to her pups. Sarah considered consulting the neighbors about any recent puppy births, but before they had a chance, Lucy bestowed a third puppy, followed by a fourth and fifth. By week's end, their dwelling was now a sanctuary to 5 tiny, dark-furred puppies, all under Lucy's vigilant supervision. Lucy showcased exceptional resourcefulness in the care of her unusual brood, but despite her unceasing efforts to feed all 5 pups, her milk couldn't adequately nourish them. Recognizing this reality, Emily started feeding the pups a nutritious blend from a bottle. It was as if Lucy comprehended the need for supplemental feeding and patiently lingered for Emily to nourish each pup. Word of Lucy's foster parenting quickly reached every corner of the neighborhood. Neighbors began to notice this marvel of nature. Some praised Lucy, naming her a champion, while others displayed apprehension and suspicion. Mrs. Parker, a senior woman who lived opposite, professed she had seen Lucy skulking about late in the evening with a dubious expression. She started spreading conjectures that the cat was swiping puppies from disenfranchised canines. The task of caring for 5 puppies and a cat started to overburden the Johnsons. The cost of sustenance and vet fees began to rise, and their home was continually a hubbub. Tom and Sarah began disagreeing on what steps to take next. Strains grew not just in the Johnson household, but also in the entire neighborhood. Tom began to feel they were under constant observation. From their back property, he could see neighbors gossiping and pointing at their windows. He even noticed a man with a camera snapping photos of their home from his car. Sarah was nearing mental exhaustion. She adored Lucy and the puppies, but the incessant scrutiny and criticism from the neighbors began to take a toll. Witnessing her parents' torment, Emily resolved to intervene. She embarked on her investigation, aiming to establish where Lucy was sourcing the puppies. The girl spent hours by the window, observing the cat, hoping to trail her on her next excursion. In contrast, Lucy seemed entirely oblivious to the turmoil around her. She continued to tenderly look after the puppies, engaging with them and exhibiting feline traits. One evening, when the strain had risen to its maximum, the Johnsons' door was knocked upon. A law enforcement officer was standing at the threshold, joined by a few worried neighbors. He declared that he wanted to discuss Lucy and the puppies. The Johnsons welcomed the officer into their residence, their hearts thumping in fear and apprehension, uncertain of how this unwelcome visit would conclude. However, they resolved to defend Lucy and her extraordinary household to the end. The officer made his way into the living room, where Lucy was resting in a spacious basket, enclosing 5 puppies. Upon viewing this, even a usually severe law enforcement officer was unable to contain his astonishment. He scrutinized Lucy and the puppies thoroughly, inquiring about their origins. The Johnsons revealed everything they knew about their origins, including Lucy's one-by-one rescue operation. At that point, Emily, who had been quiet until then, took a step forward. She shared her observations of Lucy and how the feline often lurked toward the dilapidated house on the town's outskirts. Intrigued, the officer decided to investigate the lead. Accompanied by Tom, they left for the old house, leaving Sarah and Emily behind to care for Lucy and the puppies. Upon their return an hour later, their faces were etched with grave expressions. They had discovered an ailing stray mother dog in the forsaken house who had recently given birth. She was too weak and ill to tend to her young ones. Thus, everything started to make sense. Lucy, driven by her maternal instinct, was not abducting the puppies but rescuing them from looming mortal danger. She had been homing them one at a time, understanding it was impractical to move them all simultaneously.